Hello there, and welcome back to another news type video here with me, Meoni, for Final Fantasy XIV. Today I wanted to do a short piece on a recent piece of controversy that caught my eye and perhaps one that some people will have pretty varied views about. This is about a fairly recent, I would say, change to the way certain downloadable content is redeemed for your account. Specifically, art books and the like that would ordinarily, or at least done so in the past, allowed redemption of the code for certain minions for the whole service account you redeem them onto, and not just a single character. Now, there are various services such as Potions, Fantasia and the like from the MOG station that have always been this way, but the changes to the way promotional codes for, say, the brand new art book for Stormblood, which is set for pre-order and release in February to the consumer, with the Yotsuyu minion included, for example, which will actually only be redeemable onto one character on your account. The controversy then is that some people feel that this is potentially undervaluing the actual purchase of the product. It's no lie that many people have purchased certain Square Enix related physical goods purely for the redemption of a code that comes with it for fancy minions or emotes in the case of the larger, more expensive items like the Odin statue or Shiva statuette. If we look at the purchase page for the American version, which I screen capped today at 9 PM GMT my time on the 6th of January, which is today's date, the page clearly has yet to be updated, stipulating that this is for one character. The UK page, however, has already been updated with this information. This then goes to prove that this information wasn't available at an earlier date when pre-orders have been accessible for the better part of, let's say, a month on this item alone. Now, you could argue that this information not being here in confirmation of singularity for the whole account doesn't necessarily mean that the item would or should have been expected to be for your entire account in the first place, but then people have already paid for the item, which with shipping to certain regions in the world is already fairly pricey. So how do people generally feel about this? In short, it's pretty mixed, but it seems to be more of a reaction to the whole trend of items shifting to this type of redemption rather than this particular example. This change in system could be for multiple possible reasons, perhaps with the already ridiculous amount of account-bound items being sent to every new character you create, possibly causing server or memory issues, filling my own mailbox twice over at least already on every new character I create. But then I think the communication on this has been on the low side at best. Let's use this Reddit post by World of Neil, a link will be in the description to that thread of course, and Neil points out that this isn't the fact he can't have it for multiple characters, but to quote him now as an example, we don't need it on all of our characters, but when previously we could receive those items on each character and now only one time, ... I feel it's lowered the value of the in-game item. But what has concerned me greatly is that after nearly 4.5 years, Square Enix has quietly changed their policy on bonus items from being account-wide to single character only with no explanation at all. They also added this information to the store pages after people had already purchased the products, and in the case of Eorzean Symphony, paid and received them. End quote. So he's referring in that last part to the Blu-ray Eorzean Symphony album that recently came out. This again mentioned previously nothing about being on one character only, with it only becoming apparent when people first tried to use the codes for the Orchestron rolls from their delivered goods, finding that it's only for one character. Is this misinformation or overreaction? Some could argue that it might be false advertising. Perhaps considering the game's structure, they are trying to move towards the idea of using a sole character as a sort of main character you contain these items on, or it could be that they expect players to buy the physical item purely for the physical item and see the code as an extra bonus and don't really mind putting it on one character being easier to actually, sort of implement into the game. If that is the case, it seems rather strange, especially when so many people seem to praise Square for delivering account-bound items as bonuses to these physical purchases, where they could simply not be a code at all. To say people don't buy items for codes is frankly ridiculous, however, as can be seen with the Dr. Pepper promotions or any of the Eastern Journey DLC promotions that have been out. People will go mad and actually buy extra cases of drinks that some people don't even drink themselves just to get these codes, and some extras also to resell on sites like eBay. It seems my own personal issue is purely that they didn't mention the lack of it being account bound on the actual site until after my purchase. I myself have purchased the Stormblood art book well in advance last month. It comes with a nice minion of Yotsuyu, which is a nice little extra that personally I think should have been in the game anyway. I only really play one character myself, but I think of people I know and indeed play with that have characters on multiple servers for different things. Some roleplay on Balmung and have characters elsewhere to raid on, for example. It really comes down to simple miscommunication, I think, but does open the possibility of this being the way of things to come for future items. Whether this will affect the amount of people purchasing physical goods is really up in the air. In many ways it could just drop, or adversely people could just buy the codes from third-party sites literally torn out of the actual books, much like CD Japan that actively practices that, since they know that the codes are actually worth more than the actual items most of the time. It's a strange thing to discuss, I know, but one that opens up a whole can of worms for a large amount of the player base, which is why I thought this was worth looking into today. I've attempted to stay fairly neutral on this, but I'm interested in generally how this might unfold, if and when we get an official response from Square Enix on this subject. Let me know if this affects you below in any way. What do you think about this new system? Try to be courteous to others with different opinions to your own, and I will see you all next time.